Okay, gang, hello, and welcome to the show that already started before I began this recording. I don't know why I tried to fake that, because basically now the people who are listening to this just didn't get to hear the other thing that I already said. But that's the way things roll here at this wacky show every Thursday night at 10 o'clock. Tonight we're going to be talking about cynical, crusty cynics and managing your most cynical customers' expectations. It's a crucial topic because, you know, this market, this internet marketing world that we inhabit, is getting more and more jaded, more and more sour, more and more bitter as time goes on. And there's, multiple reasons for that happening, but there's also multiple solutions to that problem that exists for everybody. I've prepared a presentation. I'm going to go ahead and pop it open here. Let's see if we can get PowerPoint to work tonight. I think we can. God, is that ugly as hell. But it's there. That's the important thing. And since we're doing ScreenFlow tonight, this stupid palette is going to be in the way all night long, I have a feeling. So it goes. Okay. Let's jump right into this. Is this how your product fits into your prospect's world? Because, quite frankly, an awful lot of the people who sell internet marketing related products try and sell them in a way that just exceeds every possible experience that the customer could ever hope to have with the product, right? Just trying to shove this jet ski into the back of this. What is that? A Honda Civic? Is that what that is? A Civic or something? It just doesn't work. Right? And what winds up happening is what we have now, which is a very unhappy, very jaded, very cynical audience that doesn't believe even true factual evidence placed right in front of their eyes, that doesn't believe in testimonials, that doesn't believe that people have their customers' best interests in mind from the get-go. So hopefully tonight's show will address some of the ways that we can manage that a little better, because I got news for you people. The outcome of any situation, good or bad, whether a customer gripes, is not the customer's fault, even if they're a complete asshole. It's perfectly normal to have a small subset of customers who are complete clowns, who make your life misery, and to simply wave that away and say those guys are idiots, don't worry about it. Well, yeah, in some ways they are, but you've got to own the fact that those people exist, and you're going to meet them in the marketplace every time, no matter what you sell. And how you manage those expectations has a lot to do with the eventual outcome of dealing with those people, even the unreasonable, irrational ones. So hopefully tonight we'll be able to arm you a little bit with that. To begin, well, first of all, let me double check here and see what we've got going on in the chat. Jack Tackett, hey Jack, just hanging out until you have to go pick up some what about my what? Okay. Thank you. Thank you again for all your help on the Warrior event, man. I can't wait to see you in a couple of t-shirts. The t-shirt. Right. Thank you, man, for all of your great help on the Warrior event. Yeah, Jeff, that was the official intro redo. Okay, I think we're all good. CRX. Yeah, CRX. That's it, Tracy. That's what that was a Honda CRX. Exactly, with a jet ski sticking in the back of it. Let's all imagine, and I am now officially not reading chat anymore. Okay, let's imagine a scenario that plays out online every day. Oh, God, I can't even read it now with this stupid thing. Let's call this guy John, this first buyer. John buys your new product. And the reason he buys it is because John knows what he wants. John understands what his needs are. He's clear about why he wants this thing that he has, that you have for offer. Very few of the things that John buys are impulse buys. And when they are impulse buys, because we all buy stuff on impulse, usually we find a way to be happy with them, right? Even if it's not that great, but hey, there was some cool things in it, or I learned something. He's able to extract the value from what he buys. His expectations are clearly aligned with his positive experience that he's going to be able to get something good out of whatever he buys. He's been able to figure out how to do that. Now, the interesting thing about John is that when John reads negative reviews and threads, online, or is researching a product, when he reads people bashing the thing, or you know what the marketplace is like right now, it's damn ugly a lot of the time. Well, typically John is going to be the one who discredits these gripers as being, that guy's just lazy, he's a dumbass, this guy's an idiot. That's what John thinks when he reads those reviews, right? He doesn't do what a lot of people do, what unfortunately Jack, you're not Jack Tackett. Let's just be clear. We're not talking about Jack Tackett when we talk about Jack tonight. Jack had to show up tonight, right? What Jack is going to be doing when he buys a product is a totally different experience. But when he reads negative reviews, he's very heavily influenced by them. How many of you guys have seen, and I'm expecting everybody here has seen this, you go into the Internet Marketing Products Review section on the Warrior Forum, for example, and read the threads and read what people say. You'll often find the exact phrase over and over that comes out that they say is, I really pay attention to the negative reviews much more than the positive ones, right? You've seen this over and over again. And let's find out why. Let's talk for a minute about Jack. Jack buys the same exact product, but he buys it not because he knows what he wants and because it's going to fill a certain need for him, but because he's desperate for a solution. Okay, it's a very different place that Jack is coming from than John. John is almost making an investment, even though you can't really call a $10 or $17 or $27 info product an investment, but more or less he treats it like that. He's buying some kind of business resource to help him earn profits. Jack, on the other hand, is buying a lottery ticket. Jack is desperate for something, some external thing to solve his crisis for him. And so virtually everything Jack buys disappoints him. He considers it garbage. Everything is a scam to Jack. He believes that most people who sell stuff online are liars, that the testimonials are fake or they're just shills. How many of you guys have seen that in these threads show up where someone says, testimonials, I treat all of them as if they were all fake and they're all shills. They're all so cynical about this. How many of you guys have seen that, right? Still, this guy, Jack, he buys from you. And he does what I call buying angry. The guy is pissed when he buys. He's coming into this project that you've put your work into and your heart into with a negative expectation, with a just jaundiced view of the whole thing, a very negatively colored expectation. An entire process is already in motion for him to be unhappy with what he buys from you. He's probably already pissed about the way you sold it to him. Inevitably, this is where it begins. There was an upsell, there was a video with no control on it, or you already did something to piss Jack off because you're guilty until proven innocent to Jack. Can you guys see how that's true? Can you guys see, the Johns of the purchasing world and the Jacks of the purchasing world? Right on. Yep, says Gypsy. Okay, well, let's keep moving. Boy, it's hard to read that chat. Here's the question for the night. How can you turn Jack into John? And let's back up one level from that and say, why do you need to turn Jack into John? And that goes back to what I said at the top of the call, which is you need to take responsibility to know and plan for the fact that there are going to be a lot of Jacks in this world. And to the extent that you're able to control Jack's emotions and feelings and expectations, you're going to be able to turn more of those into the highly profitable good customer you want, who is, of course, John. You want as many Johns in your business as you can get. They understand what you're offering. It's exactly what they want. They have the money to pay for it. They buy it. They like it. They use it. They move through your business like water. That's what we want with our customers, to smoothly flow through our business process, not get hung up anywhere. right? So the answer is we manage Jack's expectations better. And tonight what I want to do is talk about just some specific ways to do that. But before I go further, I want to take a break for a second and read the chat, ask you guys if you have questions or if if we're making sense so far tonight. So chat away, and I will jump off the mic for a second if anybody wants to key on, but if not, that's cool. Just type the chat and we'll keep going. Okay, cool. I will monopolize. It's more like webinar tonight than chat, so it goes. First of all, and this may surprise some of you, coming from me, who's quite critical of, our friend Jack here usually. Jack is usually not an idiot. What Jack is a guy who has been bitterly disappointed over and over again. Jack has been beaten like a dog by life. Jack just pretty much sucks at life, okay? And here's the truth of the matter. He's not wrong about a lot of the things that, even though he is just not really there and the way he approaches things is not quite right, there's a lot of truth in what Jack is most cynical about, isn't there? When we really get honest with ourselves, many merchants do embroider on the truth in order to make that product sound more appealing, oversell in the copy and go crazy with the claims, make it apply to everybody. Can I use this? It works for anybody. It works for any situation. Bullshit. Bullshit it does. It doesn't, right? And so this is a reality. Jack is just not equipped to be able to filter that information effectively. And consequently, because Jack is looking for that external fix that he's tapping his arm for every time, he's always looking for that external solution. He keeps this pattern up of buying disappointment, buying disappointment. Nobody ever fixes that for Jack. And secretly, the truth is, almost all of the Jacks, except for the sociopathic ass clowns and idiots that we just simply don't deal with in our business ever, we get rid of, we fire as merchants. If we have half a brain, we just flush them. Many of these people are, in fact, John. They just haven't figured out how to get there yet, right? You can help Jack stop being that guy and become the guy you want him to be. And guess what happens when you do that? You earn a tremendous, tremendous marketing asset. Why Jack believes gripes and discounts proof is what we're going to talk about on this side. And this is an interesting pattern that the Jacks of the world always run. They believe the gripes implicitly without any real evidence because they're predisposed. They've already decided that to be true. The gripes, they satisfy they satisfy this guy's a pre-existing opinion. He's essentially already going into it looking for a negative review. Up, there it is. See that? I knew it. I knew it was a scam. I knew it was bullshit. And any proof that he sees, he simply sweeps away because that threatens his pre-existing belief structure that it's all bullshit, right? What Jack really wants is to be understood. And Jack may not even know this. Jack needs to be taught how to succeed, how not to suck at life a little bit. And the truth of the matter is most products are not going to help Jack get there. But if you can find a way to help Jack use your product in a way that actually, for the first time maybe ever, gets a result, or at least motion in the direction of the result that Jack desperately wants, he has the hidden potential to become an enormous asset for you. A true believer, someone who will go in and defend you in online chats and arguments, people who will go out and tell people about you and spread the word about how this has worked for them. This is a guy who was angry when he bought from you, and this is a guy who has literally changed everything around based on your ability to manage his expectation, to disarm that bomb, to defuse that bomb before he gets to the point where he gets frustrated and pissed off. A lot of it has to do with customer experience. What happens at the buying process? What happens immediately after the buying process. But the big heavy lifting really goes into it before Jack ever hits the buy button. And that's by clearly understanding Jack's pain, by understanding what it is that drives Jack. Now, I want to make sure that we get to the formula tonight without, running over. We only have an hour. So I want to jump right into what I think is a pretty basic and simple formula for managing expectations. 3 keys to it. Number 1, illustrate and demonstrate exactly what you're selling and exactly how it works. Number 2, clearly communicate that you understand this guy's pain better than anybody else, better than the competition. You really get it. You get what he's going through, what he needs, what he wants. And number 3, and these should not be surprises to you folks. None of this is new, should be new to you. This is simply reinforcement for the truth that absolutely works every time reliably. And the third and final is prove that others have obtained the result that Jack deeply desires, that he desperately wants. And we'll get to proof in just a second. We're going to go into each of these a little more clearly. But with this simple formula, with these 3 elements in your marketing message, illustration and demonstration of exactly what it is and exactly how it works, so that there is no guesswork, so they can experience and taste what it's like to have the benefit of what you sell before they actually have it. By managing that expectation, again, you're not going to get somebody who is bitterly disappointed when the thing is not at all what he saw. I mean, how can he not understand what he's buying when he's seeing it in function? And for the most part, this comes down to laziness. Why it doesn't get done. But in a minute, we'll talk about how to, what to pay attention to, what to learn from. There's some great models that you can use to do this very powerfully, and we'll share that. Number 2 is, clearly communicating that you understand the pain. And this is enormous. I mean, essentially, if you only do one of these 3 things, if you can climb inside Jack's head and clearly explain in your marketing pitch to this guy that this is who you are, right, Jack? This is the problem that you've got, right, Jack? This is what really pisses you off like crazy, right, Jack? I get it. I really do get it. And here's how my thing's going to fix that for you. Jack is way, way, way disarmed compared to what most people do, which is throw a bunch of stuff at Jack, a bunch of hype, a bunch of excitement, a ton of overwhelming lifestyle proof that ultimately is not convincing and actually pisses him off. So instead of having that moment of persuasion where you're able to actually show Jack that his life can change in just a few moments, after just investing 2 or 3 more minutes to read this sales copy and click the button and take action, whatever it is, everything can change for him. That's a guy who's paying attention, who's excited, and who's going to be able to use what you buy. But instead, what most cheesy marketers do is overwhelm them with the massively sizzly offers, and you just foster. You're creating already. I mean, you're essentially creating an outcome. It's predictable. It's entirely predictable. Now, proof. We'll just get to that when we get to that on the next couple slides. But proof is incredibly important and something most people just do a miserable job communicating to people. So I'm going to pause for a minute and check for questions, follow up on everybody's comments for a sec. So just give me a second to read the chat. Thank you. And a sip of drink at the same time. Brian asks, are you going to repost this with the slides as well? I am, Brian. You can sign up here, folks. Brian McLeod, marketing.com. You can sign up there if you're not already a member, and the replay of the show, technology willing, the replay will be posted for free in the Marketing Mastermind membership that I give away to everybody. So, absolutely. Okay, cool. You're already in it, and you will get it. Awesome. Thank you for asking. Oh, I see Ben's there. Oh, Vegas Vince has shown up. What up? Vegas Vince pulled off his own WSO. Dude, I am mega proud of you, Homer. I know that that's a major accomplishment for you, man. So good job on making it happen. I know that's hard work for you. It's scary as hell for you to pull off. I know you can do it. Hey, the frogs have joined us. The night is complete. Vegas Vince has brought the frogs out. They're glad to hear you. So yeah, congratulations on that, dude. Well done. Let's move on to the next slide. Illustration and demonstration. God, I hate this stupid palette. You can't see it, but trust me that when you watch the replay, it'll annoy the shit out of you too. Illustration and demonstration. Screenshots of earnings and other ways of counting your money in public is not proof. It's entertainment. Okay? Let's be clear about this. What most people consider proof is not proof. It's entertainment. Proof is something else entirely. Proof is something that's demonstrable, that's absolutely factually self-evident, that it can be backed up, that can be fact-checked, that's real, guys. Okay, that's real. That's when you've proven it. I mean, sure, essentially what these, sort of ClickBank account screenshots and all of the just cheesy lifestyle proof that people love so much in the internet marketing space. Essentially what you're doing is you're entertaining somebody. You're taking them on a little emotional voyage about what their life could be like. But what you're not doing is proving to them that their life will be like this. Big difference, right? They'll still be entertained and maybe influenced by it, but not to the extent that you can show them in a absolute logical argument that they can have with their asshole brother-in-law Larry, who always browbeats them for everything that they buy. Oh, you bought that? You're an idiot. Oh, you paid too much. Meh, meh, meh. Everybody's got that asshole brother-in-law Larry, don't we? And you have to justify everything to that guy who's always trying to pick everything apart. Well, this kind of proof and evidence, not only does it give him the ability to defend his choice against critics and people like that, he's selling himself on the same thing at the same time when you really prove it that way. So how do you prove it is the question then. I want to encourage everybody to spend some time watching the way that really good direct response TV advertisers prove things through animations and through explanations of what they always have, some kind of special space age technology that powers every product, right? And so once they make that claim, they prove that claim. And one of the most powerful ways to prove a claim is an animation that explains what this principle is. Let's use Flat Free, one of Vegas Vince's things, right? It's a tire puncture product for no flat, like a no flat thing, this chemical goes inside the tire and prevents the tire from blowing out or from going flat. Naturally, you can imagine that an animation showing a nail sticking up and going into the tire, how it then seals up, that space age bonding technology coats and seals the inside of the tire. You can see it in your mind instantly, right? And it's a very persuasive, understandable proof that this is something that can work for them, that can be done. This makes sense to somebody, right? Rather than just say it's this and it's going to do it, show them how it can do that. This presentation is in its own way an example of demonstration and illustration. By going through this together, you're demonstrating that A, you understand the topic at hand, the matter that you're discussing. All of that is demonstrable proof, which is much, much more powerful than counting your money and all the entertainment. Now look, let's be clear. There are marketplaces that we work in internet marketing, like ClickBank and other places, where they are essentially infotainment and edutainment marketplaces. They're not really about results, they're about entertainment and distraction. And that's a big enough topic for a whole other show, right? An entire show in the future is edutainment and infotainment and how all of that works. But if you really want to make a serious, powerful, persuasive argument for what you're doing, you can transcend all of that. I don't count my money in public, largely because I came from an industry that was very tightly regulated, where that kind of thing is so beyond the pale. It's not even a topic of consideration, much less discussion, because it goes far deeper than that as far as what you cannot do. So the notion of that is just so beyond my basis of experience on how to sell and prove the case to people that I don't miss it at all. Okay, and you can sell that way. You can market without missing it all, no matter what the experts tell you. Sure, you can get people to buy ClickBank $37 blind offers with lifestyle proof and strippers and cocaine on the mirror and an extortion plot of how to extort the marketing secrets from the internet guru, or she was going to tell his wife that he was at the Spearmint Rhino, whatever. You can do all of that. That's entertainment. It's all showbiz in that case. Fine. They're buying their day's entertainment. But we're talking about, quality marketing of quality products that are supposed to last, that people are trying to build businesses with. It's a whole different level. Let's move on. What do we have next? Communicate clearly, okay? God, I hate this palette. Most marketing communication fails because it is exceedingly lazy. Mea culpa. I am guilty of it myself. You are guilty of it. All of us are guilty of it. We're busy, man. You got stuff to do. You don't feel like doing it when you got to do it. But the truth is, almost every failure of a marketing communication is attributable to laziness, to not putting in the time and effort to really be specific about what you're saying, to prove that case. In your claims, in explaining how people can get that result that you're claiming, is basically the power of the whole thing. If you simply say to somebody, hey, this is what it'll do for you, but you don't show them any evidence that this is going to be possible for them, and then it's not specific enough to their situation that's like, ooh, wow, that's exactly what I need, you're going to get a certain number of sales and you're going to leave a fortune on the table, right? And more importantly, you're going to get people who bought what they weren't expecting, who didn't understand what they were buying. So yes, it's more work on the front end to be more specific, to clearly, explain what people are getting every step of the way. But the truth is, what you're buying is more profit, not just more sales, but more profit. Anybody can get more sales. Not everybody can keep more profits. Sales are actually not the hard part. Just bullshit people and more people will buy. But you're not going to get to keep that money, and you're going to destroy your business that way. The goal is not just to sell more product. The goal is to keep more profits, to have happier customers, to do less aggravating work, right? And the way we get there is by being very specific with people about what they're buying, how it works, how to use it. We can all get better at this, guys. I'm sure that as you're listening to this, you're thinking of situations right now in your marketing where you're like, yeah, I could tighten it up here. Yes, this is a continual process of evolving improvement. It's not something that we do once and then say, well, it's done now. I have communicated clearly. It's something we work on every day, But I can't tell you how important this is to the long-term profits and sustainability of your business. Your ability to communicate clearly with your customers and with your market and your prospects is the difference between having $1 million company or $100 million company, having a nice little business or an incredible growth machine that is now it's beyond you. It's got its own life and it's doing its own thing because it just works so damn well. Huge point. Now, last point on this slide is what I think is one of the most underrated marketing assets in the world, and that is your frequently asked questions. Most people think of them as a support issue or as, a customer service kind of thing. But your frequently asked questions, are a tremendous source of your marketing message to people because they're frequently asked for a reason. This is what's on people's minds. Number two, being able to show your prospect that each one of these essentially gives you an opportunity to bond with this prospect. In their mind, show that you get them, you understand Jack. Jack is like, wow, yes, exactly, that's what I wanted to know. Oh, look at that, great. Jack is going to be far more in a more persuasive and influential state, reading a list of very carefully crafted questions that drive the sale forward. They look like essentially just questions people are asking, but they're clearly thought out. You're taking them through a buying process, a qualification process as you write your frequently asked questions. Don't just randomly and indiscriminately throw up questions as they come in and call that a fact. It may be frequently asked questions, but you've squandered an opportunity to very persuasively influence your buyer by showing them that you actually are kind of reading their mind and you're one step ahead of them. It's everything. It's everything. It's a huge secret for people to be able to use this effectively in their copy and in their marketing materials, in your sales collateral, in your brochures, and the things that you mail. I don't know who mails what here, but huge opportunity for improvement for a lot of people tonight, right now, just thinking about this one little topic on the frequently asked questions. Last, I want to go into proof, and then we'll have a chance to do some Q&A because we got plenty of time. We're only at 36 after the hour. I'm sorry I'm not reading the chat, guys. Apologies. I'm just going to keep going for continuity's sake. If you can claim it, then you need to prove it. If you get to claim it, then you get to prove it. That's the rule. If you claim it, prove it. Now, proof does not automatically equal showing someone a photo or a document or some other visual device. And that is a very common sort of presupposition that people make about proof, that it's got to be a screenshot or somehow some kind of visual device. Do you know there are a world of other proof elements that can be used much more effectively that have nothing to do with showing somebody anything? Number one, demonstrating your mastery over the topic is its own version of proof. Being able to sell and market effectively to this person is its own proof. The fact that you understand all of their questions. We just talked about the frequently asked questions list. Can you guys see how having a carefully crafted fact that really sells the prospect on all of the aspects that are concerning them and then shows them that you really understand all of their pain and frustration? Can't you see how that's a massive amount of proof in this guy's mind? It has nothing to do with what you're showing them. It has to do with what he's showing himself in his mind's eye. He's constructing his own mental image of what this proof means in his life, not your life, not whatever screenshot you're showing, but what it means behind his eyeballs. When you have a great series of audio testimonials and someone's listening to someone else tell a story about how great you are, and it's influential and it's clear that it's real, someone is now sort of projecting themselves into being in that space with you, being at that same level, being a happy customer of yours, getting that same result. But they're not viewing it from what you're telling them it looks like. They're constructing their own mental picture of what it looks like. Can't you see how much more powerful that is for Jack when he constructs his own contextual idea of success with what you're buying, rather than being force-fed and crammed down his throat what you think it ought to look like? So let's move to the last one, which is case studies, because case studies in many cases, there you go, that was almost funny. Case studies are extremely powerful, often underexploited or done wrong. Case studies really are more in-depth. They're more real than a testimonial, right? But they don't need to be like some 6-week, process to put together either. A case study is really just a way of exposing, of peeling back the curtain for someone, how this really worked and proving that this really worked for somebody like them. many of your testimonials can be converted to case studies without all that much work. A quick phone call, a text chat back and forth over email, sending back and forth 2 or 3 email interview style sort of question and answer sessions. All of that can provide you with everything you need for an incredible full page sort of case study element on your sales page, where they are able to really insert themselves into this person's situation, understand their background, identify with it, see that it's like them or makes sense for them, and that this product worked, that this thing solved this problem. Case studies, I think, in general, get over the hump of this cynical belief that all testimonials are shills or friends. And case study just is it's more scientific. It feels to the reader like what you're giving them has been thought about and presented in a sort of journalistic fashion, rather than just a bunch of people patting each other on the back. Clearly, if it's a case study, attention had to be paid to it, right? So use case studies more in your marketing. If you're just slapping up a bunch of Johnson boxes with a photo, stick a headline on it and a couple of, "This product's the best thing I ever bought, love it, get it," that's fine. But why? Why does he say that, right? That's how we diffuse the whole issue of this is just bullshit. It's just a shill or a friend or something. It can't be that if the case study proves that it was actually used and that it worked. That can't be bullshit unless you're just an outright liar. You guys following me tonight? I guess I can look at the chat for a minute. I think we're done with slides, right? How many more do I have to go? Oh, that's it. That's the last slide. So let's see where we're at. I'm going to mute up and read the chat for a second. Hey, Caliban made a great point. Make a frequently unasked questions. That's great, CD. Good job. Absolutely. A frequently unasked questions. And that's really what, that was a big part of the sales process on the phone as well. One of the techniques that we would teach the sales guys is to answer the unasked question, not the one that the person is asking. Because frequently people will make small talk on the phone or just be polite and sort of beat around the bush when they really have a very specific question. They're just too shy to ask it. So they'll say, "Hey, what about this?" And you'll say, "All right, what you really want to know is this and this, right?" And inevitably the person will be like, "Yeah, exactly, that." And then you'll answer that unasked, unexpressed question. So to the extent that you're doing that in print or in text, in your sales copy, as opposed to on the phone, that's a great approach. It doesn't work quite as well unless you're having that person-to-person interaction, but it's a great psychological way to build trust. Again, you've scored huge points with Jack when you do that for him, like on the phone, right? When he says, "Well, what about this and what about that?" And you say, "Look, Jack, I'm going to level with you. What you really want to know is this and this, right?" And he's like, "Oh, well, yeah, basically that." And so you address that for him, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, well, all right, now I'm listening." You've diffused this cynic, this crusty shell. You've scraped away this crusty, cynical core that everybody has, that the marketplace gives people. And that's how you do it. I mean, it really is kind of clairvoyant in a way. You've got to really think about what you got to know your market, I guess is what I'm really saying. You need to know your customers almost better than they know themselves. And that's how you really get the true leverage in any market. How you can become the big player in any market is just by better understanding the customer and more clearly communicating that to people. You win every time. Price is actually on your side at that point because you can be a premium price solution and dictate the terms of what everybody else has to do to compete with you when you really better understand the customer and communicate that better than everybody else. Hopefully that makes sense. Good stuff, says Michael Lofton. Thanks for coming, man. Hey, Scott Murdaugh's in the room. I'm following. Great stuff, Brian. Appreciate it, Scott. So, of course, the facts within Warrior would want to be incorporated into future repurposed packages. Yeah, I think so. Okay, if you can write case studies, Jack says this is good. If you where to go? If you can write case studies for case studies, lots of companies pay good money for case studies for exactly the reason that Brian explains. Yes, they do, and yes, they should, because it is exactly that powerful. Yes, Georgianne is following. It makes perfect sense. Wow, I'd love to show you your replays to some of my clients. Well, hey man, you're welcome to. I'd be happy to help you do that, Michael. No problem. Lots of people don't ask because they don't want to look stupid. Is exactly it, CD. I mean, you get it, dude. We've talked about this stuff for hours before. Drinking at 3 in the morning, um, just shooting the bull. You know what I mean? And absolutely, that's it. People are terrified of looking dumb, and they don't want to ask questions that make them appear unsuccessful in the eye in someone else's eyes. Um, it's just the way people are. Ben says, Dr. Ben, hey doc, I'm a big let's be friends seller. Right on, man. Absolutely. And and let's be clear, this doesn't mean you got to get up close and personal with all of your clients or do more bonding than you try to do with each individual. You can still be kind of a hands-free, low-touch marketer and get the customer at a deep psychological level and communicate that better, improve your claims more powerfully, and turn that cynical guy into a true believer without having to get touchy-feely with the customer. So don't let that be, as Joel Bauer would say, don't let that be your trepidation. Don't let not having the tools be your whatever it was that he said. Right. Anyway, you can get so much good info with that strategy. Yes, you absolutely can. And that's the advantage, obviously, of being on the phone with your customers. I advocate highly that people talk to their customers whenever they can and whenever that makes sense. Clearly, I don't want to do 200 phone calls a day with people buying an info product from me over the internet. But there's a point where I do want to talk to people on the phone when they're buying a higher ticket coaching strategy, consulting session, copywriting, whatever it is. Then we absolutely have to talk on the phone. You cannot hire me by email. It's that simple. Let's see. Lots of companies are paying big money for what amounts to vanity books, 15 to 20K, docs, dentists, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot to be said for that, for being able to prove in the marketplace that you've got a book on Amazon. It clearly indicates that you've spent the time it takes to create a book and put it on Amazon. Whether it's good or not is a whole other conversation, but that alone is a level of accomplishment that differentiates you from everybody else in your market. That can be thorny, though, says CD. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that one. It's not a time spent issue. I'd love to have a copy of this. Well, sure, Kay, you can grab a copy of it. We're recording tonight. My martial arts instructors used to say the sweet spot with students was to be friendly but not friends. Wow, that's great. I like that. Right on. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really good. I like that a lot. Absolutely. You must find the buyer's criteria, the true criteria, then repeat it back, says Vegas Fence. Often what he claims he wants ain't the case. Exactly that, man. Exactly that. CD says, when I left my dojo, the 4 of the instructors came up to me and said, dude, now that you're not a student, let's hang out. Right, exactly. Okay. I think I've covered the chat. Awesome. That wasn't that hard. If I missed you or your thing, actually, let me get rid of my slide. That's much better. If I missed your comments, I'm sorry. Maybe I can catch them now. I'm going to jump off mic and let's do Q&A. We've got like 12 minutes, I guess, to shoot the bull.
Yeah, what are your techniques for getting the questions that nobody asks? Do you just basically go to other copywriters and have them kind of ask the questions that come to their mind as they read your copy, or do you have some other technique? Because that's the first thing that comes to my mind as kind of a first cut, how I'd go around getting those questions from somebody with fresh eyes and whatnot.
Hey, that's a really good question, CD. Thanks, man. I think I talked about this before here recently. One of the best things you can do is try, it's kind of industrial espionage, but if let's just presume that you're trying to write for a market that maybe you're not totally immersed in. I imagine that that's a fairly common occurrence for most of you, that you're interested in a market, perhaps you might even be passionate about it, but you're not intimately involved in the day-to-days of that market the same way like a brick and mortar company is, where they're dealing with people all the time in that market. To the extent that you can do this, it's really cool. Get a hold of customer service people or sales people that talk to these customers, and these guys understand implicitly what the pain points are. Like, I'm trying to think of how to construct an example that would make sense. Like, let's imagine that you're selling something that has to do with cable, broadband cable solutions, right? Imagine how powerful it would be to be able to just talk to a bunch of random customer service people who deal with these people regularly, and just find out, when you get 3 or 4 people who tell you the same thing, these are the big ones. This is the thing that everybody's pissed off about all the time. You have a very big vein that you're tapping into there. That's not always practical online, but how can we apply it online? How can we invent ways to sort of approximate that process? Don't know necessarily off the top of my head, but it's an important thing to think about. Let me look at the chat again. That's a really good question, CD. And some of my techniques for doing it in copy, just straight up writing a letter and trying to project it. I'll do some research online. I'll read the gripes. I'll read the threads. I love to read forums, user forums, and different websites and comments and answers and blog posts and what people have commented on blog posts. And I just go back. I don't really have a method for finding them as much as I just keep digging for them and looking at them, and just till I feel like I've gotten my fill, like I've gotten it, and then I clip and copy a lot of that stuff. What I use is a little app called Shovebox, where it just takes anything on my clipboard and fires it into a little text database, and then I grab all of those, concatenate them together into one document, and I can sit there and just kind of read it. But to each his own. I don't know if there's a perfect way to do it. You just got to dig into what people are really saying, the conversation. Who has a good product on this is Kevin Rogers and Ben Johnson just did a whole marketing x-ray product on some of this very similar type stuff. So cool. Yeah, I'm going to jump off the mic. Anybody else with a question, jump on in. Hey, I see a question from Vegas Vince. Vince says, Mac, you returning after June? I am. And for the record on this recording, what Vince is asking about, I don't know if I if I chopped it off my my sort of silly introduction or not, but I am going to be taking the month of June off from the Talk Marketing Now network. If you're just joining us now and didn't catch the beginning, I'm going to be taking the month of June off. I have not missed a week yet since we launched this network. I have had a show every single Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern since we launched the network together as an idea. And I just needed a little break, that's all. I just got a lot of stuff going on that needs some careful attention. I need to recharge my battery so I can keep doing good shows that are content rich and feel like a valuable use of our mutual time. And we've got the Warrior event coming up in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to be traveling. I'm looking forward to hanging out in real time, in real space. Now I will be still hanging around. I'll come to your shows and chat with you guys when I'm here. I just don't want to do a show every Thursday for the next month, so I can focus on some other things that I'm working on. Hopefully it's apparent that I don't just show up unprepared or without thought on a lot of these shows. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, I really try and put together a good show for you guys and respect your time, so that when we're going to get together, there's something worth talking about. So anyway, there's that. Yes, I will be back in July, recharged and ready to rock. Let's see if we have anything else from anybody. Judy says, yes, and all the ones I've been on have been awesome. Well, thank you, Judy. Appreciate that. Bon, with all the drinking at the Warrior event, there'll be a lag in person. It's funny. It's going to be worse trying to talk to people there than it is on the network, I think. That pool party is going to be epic. That is going to be epic. So you, Caliban says, so you ask about their stupid customers because they hate their customers and they'll hate on them all day and compete for who has the most hateful customers. Yes, that's exact. Oh, you think you've got it bad. I had this guy call in one time and he said this and he did that. Yeah. And look, the salespeople, customer service people are a great source of information, and call it industrial espionage if you want, but more or less what you're trying to do is serve your market better. You're trying to create and foster better trust. All of this really comes down to one thing. Why does Jack not behave like John? Because no one's ever demonstrated something that made him want to trust. Nobody's ever really cracked that shell and earned his trust before. And if you can do that with these cynical customers, if you can manage that outcome for yourself, you're going to put a lot more money in your pocket. You're going to pwn the space. Nobody else will be able to keep up. You dictate the terms. You're the trusted source of, and people point to you when someone says, hey, what do I do about this, or what should I buy in this market? You're going to be the one people point to because you're trustable, you're reliable, you're something that somebody can feel good about sending their grandma to go buy something from, right? So that's pretty much it for the main show tonight, guys. It's just kind of open chat for a few more minutes, and then Rob Howard will be coming on at 11. I appreciate you coming out to join me. Again, June we're taking off, but coming back in July, 10 o'clock every Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern, is Marketing Out Loud with me, your host, Brian McLeod. Thanks for coming, guys.